Imagine this. You're a flight attendant on a flying plane, going about your business, walking down the aisle, when a man in his seat calmly hands a note to you. And on this note are four chilling words: I have a bomb. Well, this was someone's reality. This really happened. And to this day, the man responsible, known as D.B. Cooper, has never been caught. His daring skyjacking is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. So, who was he? How did he pull it off? And why, after more than 50 years, has this case not been solved? Let's get right into it. On November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, this man, using the name Dan Cooper, went to an airport and he bought a one-way ticket in cash for $20. Then he bought Northwest Orient Airlines flight 305 in Portland. He was calm, he wasn't flashy, he wasn't suspicious. People described him as a polite middle-aged man in a dark suit, a black tie, with a mother of pearl type clip and neatly combed hair. He didn't carry anything unusual, just a briefcase. Fun fact, a quick one. The name D.B. Cooper was actually a mistake by a reporter. The ticket he bought said Dan Cooper, but thanks to a journalist's typo, the world has called him D.B. Cooper ever since, and it just stuck. Going forward, now Cooper in the plane sits in 18E, and then shortly after takeoff, Cooper hands stewardess Florence Schaffner a note. He assumed it was just his phone number and he was just trying to flirt with her. She must have probably had that a lot, so she just slips it into her pocket without opening it. But Cooper leans in and he whispers to her, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." So Florence, taking out the paper from her pocket, she unfolds it, and the message was simple but chilling. It read, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to sit beside me." Now, that's a huge claim that she wanted to confirm, so she obeys immediately. And with a trembling voice, she says, "Sir, may I please see the bomb?" Cooper nods, opens his case, just enough, and inside is a jumble of red cylinders, wires, and a battery, enough to convince anybody that he had a bomb. Of course, she was shocked, but quickly she relaxed her face so that the other passengers wouldn't see her looking distressed and pick that there's something going on. Then Cooper calmly states his demands: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, 2 main, 2 reserve, and a fuel tank standing by in Seattle to refuel the plane. I want it ready by the time we land, no tricks, no funny business. So she goes over to the cockpit to let the pilots know, and the pilots relay his demand to air traffic control. The word reaches Northwest Orient headquarters and then the FBI. And in a heartbeat, Flight 305 becomes the center of a crisis. Now you may ask, why 4 parachutes? Well, some experts think that he wanted the FBI to believe he might force hostages to jump with him. With the FBI having this idea, it would prevent them from trying to sabotage the parachutes that they'd give him. So the FBI goes, let's give him whatever he wants. We can't gamble with 36 people on board. And with that, Seattle police gathers the money, $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills from a bank and 4 parachutes from a local skydiving school in the area. Now, while all this were going on, Cooper is relaxed and he's calm. He even goes on to order another bourbon and smokes cigarettes like he didn't just plan something outrageous. Then he goes ahead to demand that the plane doesn't land until his demands have been sorted out. So that meant the plane circled Seattle for 2 hours, giving authorities on the ground enough time to, gather his demands. Now the other passengers were told that there was a minor mechanical issue. Most didn't know that they were in the middle of a hijacking, and Cooper wanted to keep it that way. So in this story that I'm telling, While the plane is still circling in the air for like 2 hours, I'd like to quickly say something in exactly 10 seconds. Okay, here goes. This video is the first long video that I have created on YouTube. I'm a new YouTuber and this is my third day here, and I'd really love for your support. So if you enjoy this video, please like it and subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you. Now, back to the story. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 finally lands because Cooper's demands were ready. The plane rose to a remote part of the runway, surrounded by emergency vehicles. Now, as promised, Cooper allows all 36 passengers to disembark in exchange for the money and the parachutes that he requested. Only the crew remained in the plane with him. He had kept his word and no one was harmed. Now, let's move on to phase 2. Cooper orders the plane to refuel and set for a new course, Mexico City, and with some conditions attached. Number 1, fly under 10,000 feet. 2, keep the speed under 200 knots. 3, lower the landing gear. The pilots tried to object, saying that flying that way would burn too much fuel, and at that speed and altitude, they wouldn't make it to Mexico without stopping. Cooper eventually sees reason with him, and then he says, fine, no problem, Reno, Nevada, will stop there to refuel. But the pilots already recognized that this was an attempt to prepare for a jump. From his demands, I think you'd see that it was either he had experience in aviation field or that he had prepared so much for this move that he learned every information he needed in order to successfully pull this off, right? This was not just a lucky move. Anyways, at 8 p.m., over the dark forest of southwest Washington, Cooper was ready. He tells the whole crew members to go into the cockpit and close the door behind them. Now, the ransom had been delivered in a heavy canvas bank bag stuffed with $20 bills and weighing over 20 pounds. It wasn't something that he could have just, held on to while jumping into the night sky. So, using strips of cord cut out from one of the reserve parachutes, he makes a rough harness and ties that money tightly against his body across his waist and his chest. It must have been crude, but it was effective in keeping his hands free in order to control the parachutes when he jumps and while he's still on the air. When he was sure that the cash was secured, he lowered the rear air stairs of the Boeing 727. It's dark outside and it's raining and it's cold, but none of these could stop him from doing what he wanted to do next. Bracing himself, he jumps out of the plane and disappears into the stormy darkness below. Now, back inside the plane, at 8:13 p.m., a sudden upward shift in the tail was detected by the cockpit instrument, and it confirmed what they all had been suspecting. Cooper had jumped. Now, Flight 305 goes on to land safely without its mysterious hijacker, and immediately, the greatest manhunt in US aviation history began. The FBI launches one of the largest manhunts in the US history, what they called NORJAC, short for Northwest Hijacking. They interviewed the crew, they interviewed the other passengers of the plane, and from the physique descriptions given to them by those who saw Cooper, the FBI interviewed hundreds of suspects. You see, military planes had secretly been following Cooper's flight when he was still on the plane, but somehow they missed the exact moment of his jump, and so estimates were made of the location they assumed he must have jumped and landed into. And with that, FBI agents, local police, and even the military fanned out across southwest Washington, focusing on the rugged wilderness between Ariel, Woodland, and Lake Merwin. That night became so busy. Helicopters buzzed overhead, search parties combing dense forests, and divers scouring rivers. Even though the weather conditions were not friendly, the rain was cold, the trees were thick, the terrain was treacherous, yet the sheriff's deputy still backed others to the party. Spread out even further. Look for parachute fabric, footprints, signs of struggle, a body, anything. But nothing. No trace of parachutes, no body, no briefcase. It was as though Cooper had dissolved into the night. Well, back inside the aircraft, investigators go ahead to collect clues. Cooper had smoked 8 cigarettes, leaving behind the butts in the ashtray. He left the duffel bag that the money was put in, and one of the parachutes was also left behind. More importantly, he had left his cheap black clip-on tie on seat 18A. So naturally, FBI forensics tech take all this evidence in order to get prints off of them, maybe even fabric too, but fingerprint tests led nowhere. And in that era before DNA technology, all the evidence is simply sat. The FBI goes ahead to release composite sketches or drawings of the culprit based on the crew's memory. A man with dark hair, a business-like appearance, sunglasses, every details that they gave before. And then immediately after, the FBI also released the serial numbers of the $200,000 ransom to banks, casinos, racetracks, and major businesses, with the hopes that if Cooper or anyone tries to spend that money, it will light up alarms and then they'll be able to trace it back to Cooper if it wasn't Cooper that triggered the alarm. Bank managers were on their guard, saying, every 20 we take in, we'll check. If this man tries to cash in, we'll definitely know. But weeks passed, then months, then years, and not a single bill surfaced. In 1972, just 5 months after Cooper's jump, a man with the name Richard McCoy hijacks a plane in almost the exact style as Cooper. He also requested for parachutes and $500,000, more than times 2 the amount Cooper demanded. Now he jumped from a Boeing 727 using the resters, the same technique Cooper had used. But unlike Cooper, McCoy was caught 2 days later. He was convicted and sentenced to 45 years. One of the agents on the case of McCoy said, McCoy was similar, yes, but the timing doesn't fit. He was in Utah during the Cooper hijacking and his features didn't match the sketches of Cooper. So automatically, it wasn't him. Another man in his dying bed goes ahead to tell his soon-to-be widow that he is D.B. Cooper. But the FBI discards the claims because he didn't match the profile. And you see, at different times, a whole lot more men came out stating that they were D.B. Cooper. You see, to the people, D.B. Cooper was celebrated as, in quotes, a modern outlaw, an anti-hero who outwitted the system without firing even a single shot, beating the FBI, and thus everybody wanted to emulate him. But with each suspect, evidences fell short. No fingerprints matched, no parachute was found, and the money had all but vanished until one day it didn't. In 1980, a boy named Brian Ingram, playing and digging into the sand along the Columbia River near Tenaba, discovers something extraordinary. 3 bundles of decayed $20 bills. He was so excited, he rushed and he called his father, and his father came to see it, and thus his parents took the money to the authorities. Now, the bill totaled $5,800, and when it was examined, the serial numbers matched the Cooper ransom. But this discovery made the mystery a whole lot more deeper. What exactly happened that night? Did Cooper die in the jump, scattering the money? Or did he survive, hiding the rest? What exactly happened? Well, in the early 2000s, technology offered new hope in regards to the search. The FBI re-examines the tie Cooper left behind using advanced electron microscopy, and experts discover rare titanium particles. Forensic scientist explains that these are from environments like aerospace manufacturing. This new information suggests Cooper might have worked in aviation or a related industry, exactly what we thought from the onset of this story. Well, although the clue was tantalizing, without DNA, it just still couldn't unmask the hijacker. And so, in 2016, after 45 years, the FBI comes out to make a stunning announcement. After one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in our history, the FBI is closing the case of Norjack. Resources will be redirected to more urgent cases. And so, D.B. Cooper remains a legend, the man who hijacked a plane, jumped into a stormy night with $200,000 and was never seen again. Was he a master criminal who properly planned and pulled off the perfect crime, or just a desperate man who got lucky? Anyways, until the truth is uncovered, the name and person of D.B. Cooper will live on as America's most mysterious outlaws of the skies. We have come to the end of this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I will be dropping one long video every week and short videos about 3 to 4 times a week. And so while we wait for the next video, please have a lovely week ahead of you. Thank you and goodbye for now.